17 years ago, it was with great intentionality that I moved my family south to Spotsylvania County. But I come to you today with a sense of profound hurt. Yesterday evening, it was my intention to share with the school board an event that has affected my family. My youngest child, 4th out of 4, was targeted in her first year of high school. There were disparaging remarks aimed at her and her friends in the lunchroom. It was my hope when I did relocate from Dale City to historic Spotsylvania that she would experience a healthy environment that would facilitate her growth. Unfortunately, the meeting descended into a name-calling session. Now, I'm a theologian by profession, by vocation. For 15 years, I worked for the federal government in D.C. and Quantico. Every day I drove onto the Marine base with incredible pride in what this country has always stood for and what it means to me. And for the last 18 years, I've pastored in Washington, D.C. at a Baptist church. I preach and support the equity, the equality of all people. It is my hope that we can achieve a greater sense of peace for our children. While we have diverse backgrounds, I understand that the safety of the children is what is most important. And so while I was at the meeting, I hope that what will be addressed would affect the children. Unfortunately, it descended into a political battle. Now, again, I've had all four of my children are products of the Spotsylvania school system. My oldest is a doctor, pharmacist here in Spotsylvania. My second oldest works for a large corporation here in Spotsylvania. My son is a student, an architecture major at Morgan State University. And so I am very interested just in the well-being of our students. This is not for me to point fingers at anybody, but I do believe that maybe some better parameters could be set for the school board meeting. I understand that the passions are high because we don't understand the pandemic. We ended up vaccinating over 200 people at my church, but I understand still people don't know the effects of it, and they don't know whether we should wear one mask, 2 masks, or no masks. But I don't think that that should be the prominent thing that we talk about in these school board meetings. And so I stand before you today humbly saying I'm not here to admonish anybody. I'm trying to learn also. But I'm thankful for this opportunity to be able to speak to you in the finest county in the United States of America, not just the Commonwealth.
I'm speaking on behalf of YAC, Youth Achieving Consciousness Control, youth organization I'm working with, Failsafe. My name is Carlos Moore. I reside in the Chancellor voting district. I've met some of you. It's a privilege to address you again. And I know your hands are tied on many things. There's a lot of things that need to be done, and I commend you on your efforts with what you are doing. We don't always agree on everything, but I understand that, and I respect the fact that you guys sit down and give the public an opportunity to share their thoughts, ideas, their pain, their hurt, their joys, and their successes. These are some trying times that we have right now. I retired from teaching in 2019, after 36 years total, 30 actually in the county, 29 at Chancellor High School and 1 year at John J. Wright. I've taught emotionally disturbed kids and a wide array of other type of learning differences. I'm an art teacher by trade and an artist, so I understand expression. But going into the school board meeting, I was there last night, I spoke last night. There's a lot of hurt. There's a lot of anger. It's bordering on hatred. I broke up and said, there's something demonic taking place right now in this country, in certain aspects of this county. And I asked the Board of Supervisors, you guys aren't the most powerful people in the county, but you do maintain a certain level of control over finances that she was breaking into, a certain level of the understanding of policy and where the funds can be allocated and what needs to be passed and what needs to possibly be overlooked or tabled for another time. But I ask you, as a favor to the community, to our youth, Many of you are friends with these people that join these school board meetings. You know them. You grew up with them. I've taught in the county for 30 years. I have students now. I came out of retirement to work again because I'm trying to fulfill something. And I have teachers whose children I've taught. Actually, I taught Mr. Cunningham, Micah, when he's one of my babies too. Glad to see you got that. And so I'm asking you, you guys know who these people are. They're raging at these school board meetings. They come in here and display. It is scary sometimes because we don't know how far they're willing to take this to. If someone is relying upon a news outlet, one or two in particular, to get their information and allow it to contaminate their brain, their minds, and then they bring it into the threshold of a school board meeting because they've seen it on video, it borders on a certain level of ignorance, not knowing. But if it's perpetuated, it becomes a certain level of stupidity. And we have to be careful with what we do. Like I said, you know some of these people. You probably know them all. If you could speak with them in private and just say, sir, ma'am, can you tone it down just a little bit? I've taught kids that when you have a problem, high school kids, and you want to express your disdain, your anger, your frustration, you cannot scream and yell at people because they will not listen. You just read a proclamation stating that if we're out of control, guess what? You will be asked to leave or escorted or even arrested. So I try to teach these students, and some of these adults miss the lesson because they're threatening school board members, what they're going to do. That's insane. We don't need that in Spotsylvania County. We don't need the unrest because there are things happening in this country, in this world. There are outer entities that are interfering with our democratic process. And if we allow this to continue, where are we going to end? What is the end game? Because many people don't look that far. The lady said on television, we're ready for a civil war. We don't need another civil war under no circumstances. So I implore you, speak with your friends, your relatives. If they are one of those, ask them to, hey, do it in love and not in hate. Thank you once again, and I appreciate the opportunity.
I think the gentleman who spoke, he's right on line. We don't need another civil war. We don't need people being threatened. We don't like it up here, and I'm sure that their board doesn't either. But I did watch one board meeting online, and I would say that the core that we set here is to set for the rest of the meeting. Of course, the chairman always has the choice to. He's running the meeting and he keeps it down. But I think we've got to start with the school board members. If the public sees them not giving the courtesy to the members up on the board, then people are going to say, if it's okay for a board member, it's okay for me. And I will say that the public does come up and they can be angry at us. We're not going to solve every problem or make every person happy. But I'd really like to see the board members, the school board members, set the tone for the meeting that day. And we do have a police officer in ours, and I know they have police officers at the school board. Sometimes you have to make an example for somebody. We're not going to tolerate that. But this all comes under freedom of speech. As we heard, and I've had, people can come up here and criticize me and do everything they want to, okay? That's why we have and we protect our freedoms in the United States. It's okay. But my recommendation, and I will talk to my counterpart at the school board, and that is make sure you're setting an example that you could see the people come up and use the same example. The saying is you get more bees with honey than with vinegar. And I'd like to see it that way. Plus, I will tell you, sometimes you want to listen to a person who has a complaint, but we also like to have solutions. And so when people come up, they should say, hey, you could try this after making it. But we live in a free country today, and I just hope both the public will give the respect to the board and the board give the respect to the public. I think that's very critical, and don't be afraid to use the police department here. They do a really good job. That's all I have, sir. Thank you.
Dr. Frazier?
I too would like to compliment the men who spoke about the what they witnessed at the meeting. I think we all should operate from a place of self, or the golden rule: do unto others as you would have them to do unto you. And if you don't want somebody screaming at you, then you don't scream at them. If you don't want somebody to treat you with disrespect, then you don't treat them with disrespect. We need to operate from a place of love. I think that we've lost sight of what that means to care for my brother or my sister, regardless of ethnicity, regardless of religion. We need to care for one another in this community. I too, when I moved here 23 years ago to almost 24, heard wonderful things about this up and coming county that I want to be a part of. And we're working hard on this board to maintain that. And I have to compliment my peers on adding that extra piece to our reading for our public comment section, because we want people to treat us as we would want to be treated, or we want to treat them. And so I would encourage everyone to just operate from self and what you would want for you and your children and your grandchildren. Put that on display, and hopefully that will be the guiding piece that will keep you regulated. Because when you are not regulated, you're out of control. And when you're out of control, you don't listen to voice of reason. We all have something to offer. We don't all agree. We don't all understand where somebody's coming from sometimes. But then we listen and we move forward.